Deep in the heart of Montana's wilderness, where ancient pines reached skyward and silence enveloped the landscape, Forest Ranger Ethan Blake faced a moment that would irrevocably change his understanding of the wild. What began as an ordinary day in his years of service quickly morphed into an extraordinary tale. The crisp autumn air held more than just the scent of pine. It carried an alarming distress call that reverberated through the forest. It was a sound unlike anything Ethan had encountered before, a mix of raw pain and desperation that sent chills racing down his spine. As a seasoned ranger, he had dealt with everything from injured elk to lost hikers, but this was different. This was a call for help. Following the sound through the dense underbrush, his boots crunching fallen leaves beneath him, Ethan finally reached the edge of an abandoned mining pit. The sight below took his breath away. Trapped in the dark, forgotten pit was a massive grizzly bear. Her fur, usually a magnificent shade of brown, was matted with mud and blood. But what struck Ethan most was her swollen belly, indicating she was pregnant. His mind raced through years of training and protocols. The pit, about 20 feet deep, had crumbling walls that showed signs of recent collapse. The bear must have walked over weakened ground, causing it to give way beneath her weight. Her desperate attempts to climb out had only exacerbated her plight. Pulling out his radio, Ethan called for backup. "Base, this is Blake. I have an injured pregnant grizzly trapped in an old mining pit near Sector 3, requesting immediate assistance and veterinary support." The crackling response informed him that help would take at least 2 hours to arrive. Ethan knew the bear might not have that long. As the autumn sun climbed higher in the sky, he assessed the bear's condition. Her breathing had become increasingly labored, and her movements were sluggish. Despite the fear in her eyes, there was also a glimmer of exhaustion that tugged at Ethan's heart. Every minute that passed increased the risk to both her and her unborn cubs. Making a decision that defied every safety protocol, he began unpacking his emergency rescue gear from his truck. Ethan retrieved basic medical supplies, strong ropes, and a tranquilizer gun with a single dart intended for smaller animals. He hoped it would calm her enough for a rescue without jeopardizing her pregnancy. Working quickly, yet cautiously, he secured ropes to his truck and several sturdy trees, creating a pulley system that could help lift the bear once she was calm enough. The biggest challenge lay ahead, getting close enough to use the tranquilizer without becoming a target for her natural defenses. Standing at the pit's edge, Ethan took careful aim with the tranquilizer gun. The bear's eyes met his, and in that moment, something profound passed between them. It was as if she understood his intent. The dart struck her shoulder, and Ethan watched as her frantic movements began to subside. Time was of the essence. Ethan lowered himself into the pit, heart racing against his ribs. The bear watched him, her eyes heavy yet alert. Speaking in low, soothing tones, he approached her massive form. Years of experience had taught him that animals could sense fear, but they could also sense compassion. Once beside her, Ethan quickly examined her injuries. The fall had caused several cuts and bruises, but remarkably, nothing appeared broken. The greatest danger was the stress on her pregnancy and the risk of dehydration. He provided her with water from his canteen, marveling as she accepted this help. Perhaps driven by desperation, she allowed him to assist her. The next part required all his strength and courage. With trembling hands but determined focus, he secured a rescue harness around her body. The bear remained surprisingly cooperative, as if she understood this was her only chance at survival. Using the pulley system and the power of his truck, he began the delicate process of lifting her from the pit. The rescue operation felt like an eternity, though it was probably no more than 20 minutes. Each creak of the rope and every movement of the bear sent waves of anxiety coursing through Ethan's body. Finally, with one last effort, the bear was pulled to safety, rolling gently onto solid ground. Ethan quickly climbed out after her, maintaining a safe distance as the tranquilizer began to wear off. The bear rose unsteadily to her feet, shaking off the dirt and confusion. As the bear regained her composure, she turned to look at Ethan, and for a fleeting moment, their eyes met again. There was something in that gaze, a silent connection that would stay with him forever. Then, slowly and with remarkable grace for her size and condition, she limped toward the safety of the forest. Ethan watched her disappear into the underbrush, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and hope. His radio crackled to life with the arrival announcement of the backup team. He smiled, knowing that sometimes the most important moments in life required breaking a few rules. The memory of those intelligent eyes and the silent bond they shared would remain with him, even if he never saw her again. In the days that followed, Ethan found himself reflecting on that pregnant bear. Protocol dictated that he should have waited for the rescue team, yet something about her situation had demanded immediate action. The thought of what might have happened if he had followed standard procedures haunted him. Ethan spent hours documenting every detail of the encounter in his personal journal. The bear's injuries, though not life-threatening, could have become serious if left untreated. He sketched her distinctive markings, a habit from his wildlife biology training, noting the unique patch of lighter fur near her right shoulder that set her apart from other grizzlies in the area. As weeks passed, professional consequences loomed over his decision. His supervisor called a meeting to discuss his actions, pointing to his years of spotless service record, which meant little when weighed against the risk he had taken. Yet, as Ethan sat in that office defending his actions, he spoke with quiet conviction about the responsibility they held as stewards of the wilderness. In the following weeks, Ethan increased his patrols in the area where he had last seen the bear. Each morning he checked for signs, tracks or markings that might indicate her presence. The autumn weather was turning colder, and he knew bears would soon begin preparing for winter hibernation. His greatest concern was whether she would find a suitable den in her condition. Local wildlife cameras occasionally captured images of bears, but none showed his rescue subject. Ethan found himself studying each photograph intently, searching for that distinctive light patch of fur. He kept these observations to himself, aware that his colleagues already thought he was too invested in this single animal. During his patrols, Ethan began leaving small offerings of honey and berries near where he had found her. It wasn't standard practice, and he knew it carried risks of creating dependency, but his instincts told him she needed the extra nourishment for her pregnancy. He carefully monitored these food sites, ensuring no other animals became habituated to human assistance. As winter approached, signs of bear activity decreased across his patrol area. Ethan found himself standing at the edge of that mining pit more often than he cared to admit. The rescue equipment he had used still lay stored in his truck, a reminder of that extraordinary morning. Snow began to dust the ground, and Ethan felt a deep connection to the wilderness and its inhabitants. His last patrol of the season brought him past the old mining pit once more. Fresh snow had smoothed over any traces of the dramatic rescue, but Mark would never forget. As he turned to leave, something caught his eye. Half buried in the fresh powder was a clear bear track, larger than average, with a distinct pattern he had come to know well. She had passed through, perhaps marking her own memory of their shared experience. Sitting by his cabin window that evening, watching the snow fall, Ethan reflected on the changes this encounter had brought to his life. The trust formed in those desperate moments challenged everything he had been taught about wild animals. Yet it also confirmed what he had always felt in his heart, the deep connections possible between humans and wildlife when approached with respect and compassion. As the seasons cycled through the Montana wilderness, the forest underwent its eternal transformation. Spring arrived with a burst of new life, painting the landscape in vibrant greens and bringing fresh opportunities for Ethan to search for signs of the bear he had rescued. The melting snow revealed new paths and possibilities, and every morning brought renewed hope of discovering her whereabouts. Ethan maintained his regular patrol routes, but always found reasons to circle back to areas where grizzlies typically emerged from hibernation. The memory of her pregnant form and those intelligent eyes remained vivid in his mind, driving his persistent search. Reports of bear activity flowed in, and fellow rangers documented numerous grizzly sightings, each sending a spark of anticipation through Ethan. One particularly promising report came from Ranger Sarah Collins in the northern sector. She had spotted a female grizzly with distinctive lighter fur patches, though she couldn't confirm if it was the same bear from the rescue. Ethan spent days searching that area, finding only old tracks and scattered evidence of foraging. As summer approached, tourist sightings of bears increased. Ethan found himself explaining proper bear safety protocols to visitors, while secretly hoping their photos might reveal his rescued bear. Each blurry photograph and excited tourist story added another piece to the puzzle of bear movements throughout his territory, but none provided the confirmation he sought. The autumn months marked almost a full year since the rescue. Ethan noticed changes in bear behavior as they prepared for winter once again. Reports of bear encounters increased, and one unexpected visit from Dr. Helena Martinez, a wildlife biologist studying grizzly bear populations, brought news of successful bear pregnancies that season, including reports of new cubs throughout the territory. As winter's first snow dusted the mountaintops, Ethan stood at the edge of the now snow-covered mining pit, remembering the intensity of that morning 1 year ago. The pit had partially filled in with soil and vegetation, nature gradually reclaiming the scar in the earth, much like the healing he hoped had come to the bear he had saved. That evening, reviewing his year's worth of patrol logs, Ethan realized how this single event had shaped his daily life. Every patrol, every bear sighting, every track in the mud carried the possibility of reconnection. Though he had not found definitive proof of her survival, the forest had taught him patience. Nature operated on its own timeline, revealing its secrets only when ready. As spring approached, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He continued his patrols with a focus on tracking the bears, hoping to reconnect with the grizzly he had saved. The journey had changed him, deepening his appreciation for the wilderness and the creatures that called it home. The morning of the rescue's second anniversary began like any other for Ethan. The June sun painted the Montana sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink as he started his morning patrol. Yet something felt different about this day, though he couldn't quite explain why. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for a moment that had been 2 years in the making. Ethan parked his truck near the rehabilitated mining pit, now a thriving part of the forest ecosystem. Morning dew clung to the grass as he began his routine inspection of the area. Suddenly, a movement caught his attention. At first, it appeared to be just another shadow among the trees, but Ethan's experienced eyes recognized the distinctive gait of a large grizzly bear. His heart raced as the figure emerged more clearly from the forest's edge. There, not 30 yards away, stood a magnificent female grizzly, her fur gleaming in the morning light. The distinctive patch of lighter fur near her right shoulder, the marking he had documented so carefully, was unmistakable. The bear was larger now, powerful and healthy, showing no signs of the injuries that had brought them together that fateful morning. Ethan remained perfectly still, his training taking over despite the emotions swelling inside him. The bear paused, lifting her head to scent the air. Their eyes met across the clearing, and in that moment, Ethan saw recognition in her gaze, now filled with calm confidence rather than desperate fear. But she wasn't alone. A slight rustling in the underbrush behind her revealed what Ethan had hoped to see: 2 small cubs. Their fur was a lighter shade than their mother's, and they tumbled into view, roughly 6 months old and full of the clumsy energy that marked healthy young bears. The mother bear moved closer, her approach deliberate yet non-threatening. The cubs stayed near, mimicking her careful movements. Ethan felt an overwhelming sense of connection as the family group respected his space while remaining curious. For nearly an hour, he witnessed the remarkable scene unfold. The cubs played while their mother kept watch. As the morning wore on, the mother bear gathered her cubs and took one last look at Ethan. Their eyes met in a moment of connection that transcended the barriers between human and wild animal. Then, with the same grace that had marked her arrival, she led her family back into the forest. Ethan stood in the clearing long after they had disappeared, processing what he had witnessed. The event defied conventional wildlife behavior, yet unfolded with a natural harmony that felt right. He had not only saved her life, but enabled the creation of new life, thriving under her care. In the weeks that followed, Ethan experienced a profound shift in his understanding of wildlife behavior. The encounter with the mother bear and her cubs challenged everything he thought he knew about these magnificent creatures. The memory of their peaceful interaction remained vivid in his mind. a testimony to nature's capacity for extraordinary connections. The story of Ethan Blake and the pregnant bear stands as a testament to the profound relationships that can form between humans and wildlife. It underscores the importance of compassion and respect when engaging with the natural world. Ethan's journey transformed him, revealing that sometimes the most meaningful connections arise from moments of kindness, even against conventional wisdom. This remarkable narrative serves as a reminder of the intricate bonds that exist in nature, encouraging us all to approach our interactions with wildlife thoughtfully and respectfully. Through Ethan's experience, we learn that the wilderness is not just a place to observe, but a community of living beings deserving of our care and understanding. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you find this story interesting, please leave a like and subscribe for more stories like this. We would really appreciate it. See you on the next one.